Hello, my name is Ben Keats, and I'm just making a short video to talk about a few issues around the political climate that we're in currently, uh, B, how that affects us in general as a community, as a society, and C, how my work is going to change or alter the process in which this political climate is embraced. So we're going to start, first of all, by talking about the political climate. I think there's a clear mandate now in Britain to observe the democratic will of the people, and that's a great thing. I think it's a good thing, irrespective of which side of the fence you're on, as insofar as Brexit being a clean break Brexit, and the Farage camp or the Boris camp, who believe that Brexit should be uh, written into the script in the way that Theresa May has already written it, insofar as to say that we're almost signed up to a new treaty with the EU to a certain extent. Um, I think, irrespective of what side of the camp you're on, I think Brexit's going to happen. Um, we're pretty sure of that. I think most people are happy um, with the democratic process that 52% of the population voted to have Brexit, and I think that's where we stand. I think that's being observed, unless something changes dramatically, which I can't really foresee it actually going to. In fact, I think if anything, it's going to go more one-sided. The more um, charades Corbyn and Joe Swinson make in Parliament, absolutely flouting democracy and going against the will of the British people in the way that they're doing, and then Corbyn today hedging his bets and being indecisive as to how he's actually going to vote or in the next EU referendum, if there is one, in under the Corbyn government. I think this is it's just proving, he's a charlatan. He's sold out to his party, and his next move is now to take a passive stance, having implemented already the fact that if he gets voted in, there will be a a new referendum, and a new deal with the European Union. So clearly, this is something to watch for in British politics. See how things pan out. I think the Brexit Party have played a very good game. Nigel Farage has been very sensible in not pursuing Conservative seats. Going after the target working class Labour seats is vital in the whole campaign of bringing the agreed results of the referendum to the to the will of the people, to the will of Parliament. And I think this is a good thing. I'm totally in agreement with the way Farage has handled himself. I don't think he's greedily gone after all 600 seats. I think that'd have been possibly looked like a good opportunity to begin with, but certainly it would have been risky given the current political climate and the strong Remain camp, touting for business and possibly putting an alliance in place, should the Leave camp be weakened. So the current political climate, as I see it, is I think pretty clearly we're coming out of the European Union. It's just a question of how many votes the Brexit Party can win in the European elections, and whether we can actually ascertain to make a enough of an impact to alter the course of history in terms of what Boris is actually putting in place. Because what Boris has actually done is he's getting Brexit done as he claims to do, as his party claimed to do. But trouble is, he never really started Brexit. Their party never really started Brexit. You know, they never put into machinations the whole process of getting Brexit done in the first place. And he should have done. You know, that was vitally important. That under the Boris government, irrespective of what happened under the May government, you know, he should have started with a clean sheet and renegotiated a whole new deal. However, I think if Nigel Farage does have any say, or the Brexit Party do have any say in the negotiations in the future with the European Union, I think we're going to find ourselves securing a new deal with the European Union rather than possibly having a clean break Brexit. But I think it'll certainly, with the clout that Farage and the Brexit Party put in place, I think we'll actually, you know, to a certain extent, you know, I think, you know, we've made our case clear. We want to get out of the European Union. And when we get our lawyers involved and we show them that what they're offering us is actually, it's still vassalage to the EU. I think, you know, it's, when this happens, I think they're going to realize, you know, they're selling us a pup. I think they know that anyway. And, you know, we're going to make our move. And, you know, hopefully the nearest thing possible to a clean break Brexit will be put in place. So that's that will be great. So that's what I'm predicting. That's what I feel. That's where I feel we are currently. You know, just weighing up all the things I read on social media, the things I see on social media, the things I see on television, the things I see when I get involved in conversations on the internet and that sort of thing, and the people I know around my local area. That's basically the general consensus. That's what I feel is happening. You know, which is great. Anyway, so moving on to the local area, we have a whole host of things going on in Stroud and the local community here that, you know, irrespective of whether you're a Brexiteer or a Remainer, there's a great will of the people in this community to be a creative source for this country, to develop into a creative influence in the main from the Stroud Valleys to the rest of this country. And although we are some kind of zeitgeist, maybe collectively as a community, and we embellish our deep history of creativity and alternativism and everything that's great about Stroud and we love about Stroud. There is also, incidentally, there is also a core group of people in Stroud who are very fiercely, you know, pro-democracy and pro-Brexit, irrespective of our diversity and our multiculturalism and our creativity and all the things that we have in Stroud. And we're not the most multicultural place, perhaps, but we have this quality of life that embraces all cultures and looks after the little guy, and you know, all the things actually that Brexit will put in place, you know, irrespective of which side of the fence you stand on. The actual community of Stroud deeply represents Brexit in many ways. And, you know, with the creative infrastructure and the things that are going on in the community, you know, we have a lot of artists, a lot of artisan people who can develop ideas. We have a lot of builders. You know, we have a lot of working class in this area, who are also, you know, deeply shocked by the political hysteria and situation going on, the political situation in Westminster. And you know, I think you know, we've got a good group of people here, and you know, we like-minded people. We like people coming to the valleys and to the hills of this area who have a similar way of looking at life. And in Stroud, you know, as things develop technologically in the system that not only myself, but certainly, you know, I'm developing, in the process of developing with people in the local area to ensure that we have full internet access and full access to creative sources around the community in the area, and linking people on digital auras in multi-polarized networks of communication as I trial my experiment, or my process, my business, Emosrus, with the local area, and try and make people aware of my website, which is emosrus.uk. I start to find, I put feelers out through doing these sorts of things, putting videos on and sharing my website with people and talking to people in the community and seeing how people feel. And I feel, people have an appetite for what I'm doing. People have an appetite for what I'm offering. They like what I'm talking about. They like the way I talk. They like the people I talk to. They realize that the people I hang around with, and the network of people in the community, we're like-minded people, irrespective of what side of the fence you hang on. And I was literally just down the Woolpack Inn the other day, and I got talking, and got talking to a couple of people there. I was with a friend of mine, Michael Marnie, but we were talking to a couple of people there. The barman himself was a self-confessed Corbynite, a big Labour supporter, and just come out of being a student. And I found this fascinating. I said, what makes people vote for Corbyn? What do you see in him that other people don't? And his answer was quite straightforward. He just said, he's offering great things for students and for the welfare of the British population, and he's just a lowly barman. He'd never vote Liberal Democrat in a million years. He'd never vote for Brexit, so he didn't really have a choice. He has to vote for Corbyn. And I totally understood that. And I met him at face value, and we had a conversation, and we got on very well. And there was a lady there as well who was a fierce Remainer, and this conversation was a good conversation. There was no sort of winner or loser of it. And this is the whole Stroud mentality. It's like a rugby mentality. Everyone talks and communicates, and no one particularly has to argue their point or win points over other people in our community. And it's that kind of community. It's a good place. It's the people have the right attitude here, and I like it here. And it's the place that I've always wanted to put my stamp on it, and I've always wanted to give something back to this community, because they're a community of righteous people and like-minded people, and it's not all about political viewpoint here, which is great, and I think that speaks for the vast majority of Gloucestershire and the surrounding counties around the area. I think we all have this, you go to a place like in Somerset, you go to Frome, for example, which is a wonderful town, lovely town. Again, another place that's alternative. They're doing away with plastic. They've got all these innovative ideas there and all that sort of thing. It's quite a similar town to Stroud in many ways. It's got similar aspects. And in this whole area, this whole hotbed of where things are going to happen where I'm hoping things are going to happen in my community network of what I'm making in Emosrus. If you visit my website, it's emosrus.uk. But in this community, in this network, we're going to make things happen, irrespective of whether there's phenomena, whether there's magical change. If in terms of science and futurism, we're talking about magical escalation to the higher level of what can actually be created and what can actually be achieved here. So in this community, we're making big things happen potentially. And, my work in my creative experience, my experience through Blank Slate and the whole process I've come back through to return to the source in a way of where I came from, where I was born to, and then escalate to the higher level, because you're always springboarding to the higher level. In that whole process, I've learned a hell of a lot about people in the local area and people around the world as well, because I've traveled around the world as well a bit and seen a bit of different cultures and different countries, enough to understand basically what's going on, um, in other communities, which is an important thing to do. I think we all have to do that. I don't think you can just learn everything from home. And I think certainly people who travel all the time are probably too biased that way as well. I think some people need to put roots down more dramatically than actually reaching for the sky and going off and going to new countries all the time. Because if you don't put your feet back on the ground, then actually you're gonna lose the whole flow of what you're doing. There's going to be no cohesiveness in your community, and there's going to be no reality in what you're partaking in, because a lot of people actually um, you know achieve more by giving back something to those who they feel they're indebted to. And in our community, the whole learning process for me, and the learning process that I want to offer other people who either I bring to this community or who are part of this community already. I want them to learn about the hardships we have to endure in the beginning, but in a safe situation where there's a think tank community underneath the whole plate of platform one, ENA. And I want them to understand that actually, at the bottom end of everything, you know, even when there's absolute despair and absolute hardship, it's still a learning process. You're still refilling your blank slated mind and learning very, very quickly a process which is not put upon you through harsh dictatorship in the way that maybe the pioneers like myself experienced it, but more in a way that nurtures creativity and ideas that are developing in your mind, in a way that gently borrows the idea off you and gently gives it back when you're ready to run your own practice and become your own senior. And that's the next thing I want to talk about. The whole academy program. I talk about my academy and how I want to train people up on a 6-step program, ultimately getting them to Seraph, where they become someone who can run their own practice and take out the ethereal commodity to the existing business or enterprise in the world or in global business. And what we'd actually have is in our outer walls, the walls too, which are the mountains. If you can bear with me on the science and futurism stuff here for a minute, don't take it too seriously, but just imagine if there were mountains in the style of Davos with wonderful business practices in place already and pristine, ready to be used by the senior who graduated and ultimately was the practice ambassador or the practice originator, the pioneer of that whole thought or business program, ultimately to take over and to run, to drive the ethereal quality of that pioneerial experience through the whole step program at the academy, ultimately causing the whole reality of that existing business on the earth to go through the roof, to actually absolutely, sky's the limit. There would be no limit to how far people could reach that possibility, that eventuality. So that's, one aspect of it, what the academy is. But there's a whole host of other things that could be possible at the academy. Certainly, in the interim phases, people who don't qualify to be Seraphim seniors, 6-step senior, they will develop themselves working on other projects or in the vein that they're in. So if they're a step 2 and they're in the step 2 vein, then they will be obviously operating at a closer network with the community around them, and obviously used to liaising with people to operate their system or their systems that they're setting up or developing. Because as things develop from you, it develops to that level very, very, very fast in a way that you can't maintain all the consciousness, all the thought that is coming out of you, all the creativity that is coming out of you. So this whole process of mass production of creative source, creative element, and creative thought is maintained by organizing places or people around them in the more local community, in the local network, like a big feeder to the higher levels of the academy also. And what they get out of that, of course, is a fully funded educational program whereby they can graduate at that level of step two to ensure that they are a future proof network contributor to enable to facilitate processes all over the cosmos, if you like. So that's an example. And then in the step four phase, you've gone through the step three phase where you start to privatize yourself, you start to believe in your own realities and all that sort of thing. Maybe they couldn't get higher than the step four, the cherubim phase, because they were working for something like the police, or they're a teacher, or they're a doctor, or they were a lawyer, or working for lawyers and facilitating for them, but choosing their niche at this stage, not just en masse for everyone like the step two would do. But the cherub would be obviously working on his or her own projects, hoping ultimately to seniorize at some level higher than the cherub. And if they don't make it higher than the cherub, then obviously, there would be a niche job in one of these roles, one of these public sector roles, police, the armed forces, doctor, teacher, whatever the situation may be. And maybe they may be employed at the academy. This is always something that can go on to anyone at any level who graduates, even the step two. So this whole process is possible and readily available for everyone at every level. So that's it, the academy program. And if we're talking about the whole city ethos, what is it that we all share? What is it that we all share in the city of Ina and the realm of Ina and the mountains of Ina, and all the systems and the whole program that's operating throughout the whole network and communications, transfer, mapping tendrils, and everything that's in the system to make it operational for everyone? What is it that we all share? What is it that we're all in common with? What that's in common with all of us that makes us all similar? That drives us, that gives us the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal, it's not just about the student program. It's about being more enlightened. It's about having a more enlightened approach to life. It's about seeing the future reality. It's about seeing the potential of what you can definitely achieve if you make good things happen for other people. And it's all about re-rigging it's about rewiring yourself. It's about understanding your mentality from before, saying how we're all a selfish nut, like a hard nut that has to be cracked. And when we're cracked and we become open to the spirit and we're aware of what's going on around us and how we were damaging other people or affecting other people badly, and how we've learned and we've paid the full price and we've learned how to overcome that and prove that we're working for a valuable reason, and realize that it's a good thing to work for a valuable reason, a good reason, because everybody needs a valuable reason to work for, because we have to operate, helping each other. And it's this process of helping, supporting, contributing, bringing people up from the rear who are struggling, looking after people, but at the same time, working on our own process, giving people confidence, putting energy into the system and building a system of your own to help other people. And that's basically the whole ethos. And ultimately, it's infectious. It may have started from one person or the other, or myself, or other people around me, or the whole group and the whole community. We don't know where it started, but it's infectious and it builds. And people go through this process, this academy process. And I developed the academy system to explain the experience that I personally had been through, because I hadn't seen, no one had talked to me about it. I was kept in the dark. People didn't discuss with me. I wasn't so lucky. I was more of a pioneer than someone who comes through it in the future, who gets spoon-fed and led to the right decision quickly. And so there's minimal waste of time and a vast expanse of creativity can be created from each one. That's great for them, but you have to understand where it comes from. With a pioneer like myself who's started the whole process, what I've been through is hardship at the beginning. And, the whole process was manicured to extract ideas from me into the corporate world, into the industrial, the world around me. And I was losing ideas and I could never get on top of this. This was a big issue for me. So, it came to light that I had to start to develop myself as an individual. And I went through various phases. I could only see them as 6 stages I was going through or was about to go through, or I knew I was going through, because obviously with the CADSA, your highest level at grassroots connectivity. And the next level, perhaps there'll be another CADSA, and then we'll know the next level up as we escalate to higher levels and become even more enlightened as we go up. But the whole process, I had to write down in my academy website. And if you want to look at that, it talks about remuneration, or how I believe people should be remunerated in the whole process, and what they should, how they should be trained. First of all, the training program, and finally the remuneration program at the bottom. But it's interesting. If you want to read it, have a look at it. It's grassroots.ucos.org. There's a lot of information on there, and certainly have a look at my UMOSRIS corporation website, umosris.uk, sorry, umosris.uk, umosis.uk, which tells you about the overall umbrella of the program, the whole city, the realm, the creativity, and the spin-offs that we're hoping to create for other people in our Commonwealth as we develop ourselves from the central point of creativity in the universal program that I attest to having been on myself. So thank you for listening. I know it's late at night, but I'll put this video, hopefully I can get it rigged up so I can put it on the next page. And I'll speak to you soon. Cheers.